We're going to walk through how to model chess pieces in 3D in Rhino. Now, what I've already done is I found a picture, just a cartoon or an outline picture of chess pieces, and I've used the picture command to bring them in. And I brought them in the front viewport so that when we draw them and we look at the perspective, they're standing upright, but you really could do this in any viewport. So I'm going to work on the red layer here so that it's easier to see my lines against the white and the black here. And I'm going to start with ortho on, and I'm going to draw a polyline, just a straight one, that about splits the piece that I'm working on in the middle. So I'm just going to draw half of this, so I'll just draw the left side here. And I'm going to use a combination of the polyline and the curve tools, whichever curve you prefer. I like the second one here. And I'm going to snap to that part, turn ortho off, and then I'm just going to trace what we've got right there, and I'll stop and end new ones as I need to. Don't worry about this part being perfect, because if need be, you can always go in afterwards and you can adjust your control points. You can use function F10 to turn them on or use control points, either way. And we're down to the bottom. Let's go ahead and take this over to snap. Actually, I'm going to turn ortho on for this so I get a flat bottom piece. There we go. Okay, so I've just drawn that. I'm going to click on my picture and I'm going to use hide, or I can put it on a different layer so I can turn it on and off. That doesn't really matter. I'm going to get rid of the vertical line that I drew. I'm going to highlight all my others and join those into one open curve. So this is the side profile of the pawn. What I'm going to do now is use the revolve command. So we can type revolve. Select curves to revolve is going to be these ones that I just joined together. Hit enter. Start of revolve axis is either going to be the top or the bottom. So I clicked on the top and then I'm going to click on the bottom. Start angle up here is going to be 0. So we'll hit enter. Revolution angle is going to be 360. If it's not, you need to put 360 there. We'll hit enter. And then it makes this 3D. If I want to see, I can go here to perspective view, and I've changed perspective to shaded, and that's what I have just drawn. So if we go back to front view here, I'm going to use show to bring that back up. So I'm going to do the same thing for these pieces, but I need to think about parts that maybe don't need to be revolved. So here on the knight, the horse head doesn't need to be revolved. Neither does the cross on the top of the king. So for this one, I would just model the bottom part. And if you notice, the bottoms of each of these look identical, so you probably could just do one and copy it over to the others if you want. This one, I'm just going to trace the outline of it, and then I'll extrude it and do Boolean union to join those together. And kind of the same thing with the cross part. I can do all the rest of this as a revolve, but this I'm just going to trace. I'm going to use extrude CRV and then join those together. Now, a couple other ones that we might need to do some things different on. One of those is the rook right here. So I've already drawn this one just to make things go a little quicker. And if I look here in perspective, and I'm going to hide the picture again. So we have to think about what it is we need to do. Now, most rooks, they have this part here that is recessed in the center, and then we've got some divots on the edges, I guess, so it looks castle-like. So what I am going to do, I'm going to draw a line that goes across here, and then I'm going to draw a circle. So the reason I drew the line is so that I can make sure I get my circle on the top part here. So right here, when I hover over, it says end intersection midpoint because I have those O-snap ones selected. And I'm just going to drag it out however big I want. It honestly doesn't matter. It's up to you. Then I'm going to select the curve or the circle, and I'm going to do extrude. Whoops, help if I spell it right. Extrude CRV, and I'm going to pull it down however far I want to go. I think that looks good, and then we'll click, and we've got this extrusion that goes down through the middle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Boolean difference. That's highlighted. We'll hit enter. Surfaces to subtract from is going to be the main piece here. We'll hit enter. To subtract with is going to be that part that I just created, that cylinder. Delete input equals yes. If it says no, click on it so it says yes. And then I will hit enter. And we can see it created this divot in here. Okay. So I probably don't need that line anymore. And what I'm going to do now is switch over to top viewport. And I'm going to draw to, whoops, wrong command. I want the rectangle. I'm going to draw two rectangle pieces. It's okay if it extends out beyond. And I'm going to click. And then I'm going to make a copy of that. And I'm going to rotate that. And I'm going to align these. So I'll use the align command and I'll click concentric. Okay, so those are all aligned now. And if I look here, those are on the bottom. Okay, not a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and select those. And then in front viewport, I'm going to go ahead and drag those up so that they're somewhere around the top. Again, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to do extrude CRV again, but I'm going to go upward with it. And then I'm going to do the same for the other one. Again, go upward with it. If I go into perspective now, I'm going to do Boolean difference just like I did for the center part of our rook. So we'll go Boolean difference. To subtract from is going to be our main piece. And then we'll hit enter. To subtract with is going to be these two pieces that I just drew. We'll hit enter. Now I can get rid of those curves that I drew. And there is, and I got a circle curve in there. So now I've just made the rook so that it's got these cutouts, kind of like an actual rook piece would have. So we want to think about ways that we might need to do some of our others. So if we look at this, we talked about the knight. We can do just the bottom and extrude that. Lots of times the bishop has a little cutout here. We could do it the same way that we did on the rook, or we could use a wire cut. In this one, we're going to want to extrude those and do Boolean union to join those together. So that's how we would make our 3D chess pieces.